Okay, once again, my name is Chief Deputy Michael Fowler from the Sheriff's Office, and I'm here with Sheriff Baxter to provide an update on the situation that's taking place on Route 250 in Penfield. As I stated earlier, we were out here for just over 24 hours, began almost 4 p.m. yesterday, and we finally have resolution. We've been able to achieve a peaceful outcome in this case with no injuries, and we're very thankful for that. So let me chronologically take you through what happened. Started yesterday with some threats to parole officers. That then transferred into threats towards deputies that were arriving on scene to check on his welfare. We made clear that this was a mental health crisis with the threats of physical harm. Those threats of physical harm were by the way of Molotov cocktails and arrows from a bow and arrow directed towards our deputies. There were several attempts by the subject to harm our deputies, throwing Molotov cocktails out the windows at them and discharging the arrows from the bow and arrow out the upstairs windows. Thankfully, no one was injured by those rounds. We got the cooperation from the public and the neighbors and able to secure them in place and keep them from any harm. We spent several hours, and I cannot begin to give you the impression of the hard work that the negotiators and the SWAT team and all the deputies put into this. Those negotiators were at that for over 24 hours talking to this subject while the SWAT members were putting themselves at risk and trying to contain the situation to just that small area and keep the public safe. And what an outstanding job they did, and we're able to reap the benefits of that today. That we finally achieved resolution. The subject willingly gave up and came out the front door. We put forth a whole bunch of measures throughout the day today to kind of speed this up and bring this to a peaceful resolution. We now have an agreement with the Monroe County Office of Mental Health that the subject will be held for several days on those mental health issues, receive the treatment that he needs in the short term. That will allow us and our investigators to finish the process at the house here. We need to send the bomb squad into the house, and we need to get the crime scene technicians into the house, but we're not going to do that until we know that it's safe in there. Make sure there's no booby traps, make sure there's no threats of harm to our deputies as they go through that evidentiary process. That's also going to help us understand exactly the criminal charges that are going to come into play in this incident. We have a rough idea of what we're looking at right now, but we want to make sure that we know exactly what kind of charges we're looking at. So we're going to take our time with the list of charges, criminal charges, and we'll publish those tomorrow. We're also about to release, I'm going to release his name, and you'll see that this is an individual that has a pretty lengthy criminal history. As I stated earlier, he's a parolee, and we are violating his parole right now. New York State Parole is working on that in addition to those criminal charges that we're now going to be lodging. So the individual is Benjamin J. Smith, born February 27th of 1969. And as you will soon see, he does have a pretty lengthy criminal history, and you'll probably see that he's well known. And we're going to pursue these charges and also work with the Office of Mental Health to make sure he does get that help too. What questions can I answer for you at this point?
The shelter-in-place order for all the residents, is that still in place? When do we
we are lifting that right now. We're also going door to door with deputies to make sure that everyone receives that message and that they know that it's now safe to come out. We're going to keep the road closed for just a little bit more as we process the evidence. There are some arrows in the yards that we have to go in and get some evidentiary work done on, but very shortly here we'll be opening up the road. We're going to remain at the house for another few hours to do the search warrants and the cleanup piece and things like that.
When did you establish connection with the subject again? Because I know it was lost for a while. The
connection was lost at the early morning hours, and about 10 o'clock this morning we were able to reestablish that. And as I mentioned earlier at the previous conference, we took a pause. We kind of slowed things down at the input of the Office of Mental Health, and that worked in our favor. So at 10 o'clock when he started communicating again, it wasn't very productive, but it did have a little different tone to it. It was less threatening on the tone, and that worked in our favor, and we were able to get to a point where we are now. Now, I don't want to this was a dangerous situation, and he was not cooperating all day today, as you can see. It took us this long, but it did have a different tone, and we were able to seek this resolution. So.
And when he came outside, it was peaceful?
It was peaceful. We had been employing our techniques throughout the day and making it very clear to him that he was running out of options, and you know, without being too threatening on our part, we were able to speed that along.
How important was having those mental health professionals there?
Yeah, that was outstanding. And let me tell you, the support that we got from that office was unbelievable. Throughout the whole duration, they had representatives working with us back at the office and here on scene, and having that expertise, being there to give us that guidance throughout the process was outstanding.
Sheriff Baxter, this is a situation where your men and women came out on top. What would you like to say?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to commend Chief Fowler and his whole team, the patrol division. Listen, this guy was homicidal, he was suicidal at certain times. He was throwing Molotov cocktails at deputies, and he was throwing arrows at deputies. Very unique situation, right? We don't hear about this much. The tenacity of these deputies, the teamwork, and I'll share some of the other agencies in a second that supported us. The ability to stay out in that wood line all night long, mosquitoes, cold, right, hungry. The deputies stayed their post, kept the house secured so the bad guy didn't get out, threaten anybody else. And then through techniques and procedures, they were able to get the guy out safely. Our job is, as best as we can, always try to save lives, and that's exactly what we did. We saved the suspect's life, I think, and also the deputies going home and the community's going home. So we got to say that, you know, we talk about teamwork. The Monroe County Fire Bureau, the Monroe County Department of Mental Health, we got to talk about those people, the Penfield Ambulance, the Penfield Fire Department, Rochester Gas and Electric, the FBI, the ATF were here, the Rochester Police Department was here with us. The list goes on and on. We'll share all those people with you tomorrow in a more written, formal media release when we put it all together, but that's what came here to save someone's life, right? And we'll do that every time we can, and we'll take 24 hours if we have to. We're here to save lives. It doesn't always work out that way, and I'm very, very proud of Chief Fowler. I'm very, very proud of our deputies today. They did it right. They did it by the book, and this way it paid off for us. And bad guy's going to the hospital where he should be right now and getting his mental health treatment. We'll press charges where charges are due, but all my deputies are going home. That's what I'm going to go for.
His mother was never in danger?
No, his mother was never in direct danger, and she's been very, very cooperative with us. She was on the phone with us shortly before the subject came out. She was married up with one of our deputies that just had a great relationship with her. You can only imagine what that lady's going through in the turmoil in her life right now. But she's been very cooperative. These guys, again, did an outstanding job having that relationship with the mother.
Could you put a time on when this subject came out of the house? Like what time?
Shortly after 4 o'clock, I believe. I mean, it was almost 24 hours from the initial call yesterday that these guys worked us.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
So that'll be it until tomorrow's written release, when we list the charges we have and we summarize all the agencies that were involved, okay?
Yes,
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you very
Thanks for
much.
everything. Thank you. Yeah.